Thanks very much. Steph has been out and about this week, having a look at shopping centres, what's going on, how much we're buying and what the problems are. Back in the studio now, Steph.
Yeah,
Welcome back.
Thank you very much. It's been a really busy week, but really interesting just seeing what everyone's doing to try and keep things going on their high street. Lots of different things. Morning, everyone. Yeah, it's also been a really busy week for the retailers. Lots of trading figures out showing quite a mixed picture, really. To summarise, Marks and Spencer's, well, they had quite a poor clothes sales over Christmas, whereas the likes of Next and Debenhams had a really great one. And the big supermarkets, well, Tesco says it was the winner of the festive period, although Sainsbury's have got a few things to say about that. And of course, there was the sad news this week about the camera retailer Jessops going into administration. So a lot of pressure out there for retailers. Here's what I found from my tour around some of our town centres. Good morning. All this week I'm out looking at the future for Britain's high streets. I'm starting here in Bedminster, come to Totnes, Bournemouth, Reading. This high street, like many across the UK, has had a rubbish couple of years.
I'm afraid the high street is headed in one direction, and that is that its days are numbered.
So is it all over? Well, there's certainly more pressure on the high street, and one idea is to have more independent shops. At the moment, just under 70% are, but when I visited Totnes, which is thriving, it was much higher than this. Others say it's about looking at a 24/7 operation and capitalising on the multi-billion-pound nighttime economy. And when all that fails, well, some are using the 46,000 empty shops for arts and entertainment. Well, joining me now to have a look at this is the retail expert Claire Rayner. Good morning, Claire.
Good morning.
What do you think about all these ideas that we've heard this week then?
Well, there's some great ideas. Certainly the creative reuse of empty shops is going to be quite important to bring vibrancy and vitality back to town centres and to draw people back in. And I think one of the reasons that town centres have been struggling is because they've become very samey, they've been accused of being clone towns, and now with the rise of the independent retailers and the arts and crafts and the leisure experiences that are moving in, that really brings things back to life for the people like you and me who would want to go out and use them.
And what about this idea of having more independence? Because you need a good mix, don't you? You need the big retailers as well.
Absolutely. A good mix is essential, so you can get the basics done, but also the whole thing about the town centre is it should bring you something different to perhaps out of town online or shopping malls, things that you can't find elsewhere. It's a great opportunity for local businesses and also local producers and designer makers to reach the local community. And there's been some stats produced by the Centre for Local and Economic Strategies that says for every pound that we spend in our local community, about 50p makes its way back into that economy. Whereas if we spend that pound elsewhere, it can be as low as 5p.
One of the other big issues for a lot of the viewers who've been in touch is parking charges. That's why they're put off from their town centres. It's
a big issue. It gets raised a lot. I'm not entirely convinced it's a barrier, because if you think about when you shop online, you spend £3 or £4 for delivery, and if you have to drive a long way to an out-of-town centre, I mean, fuel costs are quite high. But then it's often the inconvenience of paying for parking, scrabbling around for the change and so on and so forth. So it can be a barrier. I'm not sure it's the real issue.
And the government have also been in touch with us because they've been watching our reports this week, and they say that they're backing the nation's high streets with a multi-million-pound package of support, which includes a doubling of the rate relief for small shops.
Yeah.
Does that make much of a difference?
Unfortunately, it makes very little difference because business rates relief are offered to businesses who have premises that attract a low rateable value. Now, most high street retail outlets have already got a high rateable value, so they don't qualify for any form of small business rates relief. Doubling it makes no difference whatsoever, unfortunately, for the majority of those in key town centres.
Because it is a real pressure, business rates.
Yes, it's huge. They've risen more in 2012 than in the past 20 years. They're set to rise again, and it's also quite an unlevel playing field. Out-of-town and online retailers pay considerably lower rates for warehousing facilities, whereas prime retail, our high streets, they pay massively more, up to 10, 20, even 100 times more.
OK, Claire, well, thanks for coming in this morning. That's it for me for today. On for the week, actually, isn't it? It's Friday.